didn't catch that show, though. There's been others that I've liked, too, but I would have to say that those come to mind, really, really right away. Obviously, Alice, David Bowie, different things like that. I worked for a record company, so I got to hear a real lot of music. I got to hear music that other people didn't because I would listen to demos and stuff.
So where was Kathy in all of this? Did she get into any of this too?
No, she didn't. She didn't play the guitar after a certain amount of time. She kind of had it as a hobby, and she didn't really pursue it. And so it was pretty much just me and Randy that were into the music enough to keep doing it, and to form groups and to play places and stuff like that. She kind of developed other interests. Actually, she's a really good artist with like charcoal and with a pencil. Phenomenal, but she doesn't even really pursue that too much. Some of her work is really good.
Yeah, and I saw a still of your mom playing in a movie. Is that correct?
That's right. I tell people that I was literally born into show business, and that's the example that I give. In 1951, she took part in a movie called People Will Talk. It had Cary Grant, and Jeannie Crane was the female lead, and my mom was the French horn player in the orchestra that Cary Grant directs, and my mom was pregnant with me. So I was literally born into the music business.
Charmed life.
Yeah, well, no, not really. Some of it. Not all of it.
I don't think anybody's life is totally charmed.
I guess that's par for the course. That's par for the course.
So, let's see, what was I going to ask? Why didn't Violet Fox have a bass player?
That's a good question. I'm surprised more people don't ask that, and this is the reason. We had a third guy, and his name was Guy. And him and Randy would be really, really, really good friends and real close when Randy and Kelle were on the outs. So Guy had a rhythm guitar that he could adjust. He could make it very, very low in tone, and you would almost think that there was a bass player. And that served two purposes. The fact that he was playing rhythm backed up Randy when he did solos. And so Guy didn't play bass. He played rhythm guitar. So when Kelle and Randy were on the outs, Guy stepped in, and he was the third guy in the band. And there never ever was any recordings. There's some kind of misconception that we recorded a record called Load Up. It's not us. We didn't have any original material at that time. It was all covers.
I bought that on a bootleg one time, and as soon as I heard it, I knew that Randy wasn't playing on it.
You have absolutely no idea how many times people will call and ask about the veracity of that record. It's not us. It's not us.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. It's probably some completely unknown band.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I've never even heard it, but I know it's not us. We didn't record anything. That was a little bit too early in the game for us. We weren't thinking about recording or original material. Randy was just 14, So that has nothing to do with us. What did you do with it? Did you save it anyway?
I still have it anyways because Randy's on one track.
Well, sell it to somebody.
I might just do that.
Sell it to somebody. Actually, one day it might be a collector's item because it's been so falsely described as a Violet Fox record. That's something that comes up all the time. Somebody made a little bit of money.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So did you or Randy listen to any Motown music at all when you were growing up? Smokey Robinson and the Miracles and Temptations, stuff like that. Oh, looks like we lost him for a second. I'll get him back on the line here, and let's play another song. Oh yeah, I lost you for a second. Okay, okay, you're back. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just asking you if you guys ever listened to any Motown stuff at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I liked it.
Yeah, I love
like
it.
it.
It's good.
I like it.
And let's see. What else was I gonna ask? Get my questions where I can see them here. Yeah. What was how influenced would you say Randy was by Mick Ronson?
Very much. Musically and image-wise, too. Especially that thing that he used to do with the toggle switch, where he would slap it so it would go.
Oh yeah.
We saw Ronson do that. I would say that he was very much influenced by him. There's also a few other influences that don't usually get listed, and he was very influenced by the lead player in Bebop Deluxe.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to mention to you. When you saw Alice Cooper,
Bill Nelson, was that his name?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was influenced by him.
When you saw that concert with Alice Cooper, was Grand Funk, Mountain, and the Stooges on the same bill?
No.
Okay, because I saw
that concert with Alice Cooper. There was a band on first that I can't recall, and the middle act was Black Oak, Arkansas.
Because
a lot of people think, and I used to, that that's the first time Randy ever laid eyes on Tommy Aldridge, but it's not true. Tommy Aldridge didn't join that band until 2 months after that show.
No, I was actually talking about that TV show that you'd mentioned, Midsummer's Rock Concert.
That sounds about right. I think Mountain was one of those acts. I think you're right.
Yeah, well, I have that on video. That's Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, I thought it was Toronto or Vancouver.
No, and remember, Alice gets nailed in the face with a piece of cake while he's got the stopwatch going back and forth like he's hypnotizing the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's Cincinnati.
So that's Cincinnati. What year was it? 68?
I'm guessing 69 or 70.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So, how did you go about recording Radio Sequence?
The way that happened was we were all rehearsing at this facility in Burbank, and I went out on the sidewalk for a while. I thought that my band was doing some kind of a musical part that didn't require me. So I went out on the sidewalk with my little recorder that I carried around all the time, and I wanted to record my band. But the only problem was I was drunk. So what I thought was my band wasn't my band at all. It was Randy jamming with some people. And I heard that the next day, and I thought, oh my God, that's not what I thought I was recording, but what was on the tape was amazing. So I just kept it and didn't do anything with it at all. And the time comes when I really think that a piece of music should be built around that song or that little piece of blues. So we developed the radio sequence, which is basically like somebody's turning the knob on one of those real old, Ford Philco radios that people had in their houses instead of TVs. And you hear the dial thing go like that, and then what you hear is little snippets of songs that are pieces of music that I didn't do anything with. And then finally you come across his piece, and that's the whole reason for calling it a radio sequence, because it sounds like you're going from different channels and you're only listening to a real small piece of each musical thing that's there. And so what happened was I wanted to put that out, and I wanted that to be out. I wanted people to be able to hear it. But I thought to myself, if I put this on a record, obviously people are going to think, oh, all right, well, so that's a good way to cash in, right? Randy Rhoads is on it, so now they'll buy it. Well, that's really not the reason that I did that. So there's no mention on the record that that's him. Now, what's incredible is people have come to me or called me and said, there's no way that that's not your brother. It's your brother. And I can't really deny it. It certainly is. But he's not credited on the record with any kind of a performance. But that's definitely him. It's also definitely concrete proof that he had an amazing ability at that time. A lot of people think that he went into Ozzy and all of a sudden he just turned into this monster virtuoso that we all know him as. But he had a lot going for him in Quiet Riot. It's just that Quiet Riot music had to be centered around a power pop type of idea. That's what their management, and that's kind of what Kevin saw as the success route that would, take the band to fame. So those kind of songs that they were doing, that's what they wanted out of Randy. They didn't want music that was, like Over the Mountain. I don't think they would have accepted that.
I thought Randy was a monster when I saw him play with Smokey.
Really? Wow. Well, now you see, that's even before I came to think that he was going to really be incredible. And this is another one of those nickel stories that's been told a lot of times. When I was the first person, you haven't asked me this, but you'll want to know this. The first person that said anything was, I mentioned earlier in the interview that I was in a band called Skull, and I didn't drive, so Sick Eddie Perry, the bass player, he drove me home one day, and we pulled up in front of the house, and Randy was practicing. If Randy's practicing, that means everybody in a 6-mile radius can hear him. And so my friend looks at me and he goes, you hear that? He goes, do you hear that music? And I go, yeah, it's my little brother. And he said, guy is going to be huge. He's going to be absolutely unbelievable. And I said, are you serious? Do you really think that it's that good? And he goes, it's going to be that good. He goes, you'll see. And that's the first time I'd ever heard anybody, make a prediction as to just how far Randy's talent was going to take him.
And did you...
At the Starwood Club, you could see that, that was funny. Do you remember going to the Starwood?
Yeah, I taped some of the shows that Randy did there.
You know that some of his brilliance came through then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially...
Like maybe 100 people in front of Kelly, 30 people in front of Kevin, and 400 in front of Randy.